Hey project managers, welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the world of Jira's time tracking. By the end of this video you will know exactly how Jira's time tracking can help you in managing your projects more efficiently. You'll know what time tracking is, how to use it, when to use it, and what are its limitations. So let's get started. If you're new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss on any of our latest content. Also visit our website for more articles. We offer free and paid services, and definitely check our training offer to take your Jira and project portfolio management skills to the next level. Often when we work with our clients on optimizing their processes, we identify several time tracking related areas which need improvement in order to efficiently manage projects. And by managing projects, I mean, for example, tracking the projects accurately, planning your resources, or simply invoicing your clients. Now, Jira can be helpful in these areas to some extent, but as you'll see in this video, not everything can be done purely using Jira's core features. So what is time tracking and why is it so important? Time tracking in general is a method used to track time spent on specific tasks or projects. It helps teams understand how long tasks will take, improve their productivity, and then ensure accurate billing and resource management. So when should time tracking be used? By tracking time, teams can make more accurate estimations for future projects by providing historical data on how long similar tasks have taken. Such data is crucial for managers to allocate resources more effectively, ensuring that team members are not overburdened or underutilized and projects are adequately staffed. All this, of course, translates to project costs. Logging work also creates a transparent record of work done, which can be useful for accountability and performance reviews. For service-based businesses, accurate time tracking is essential for billing their clients correctly and building trust. By analyzing time tracking history data, teams can identify and address bottlenecks or inefficiencies in their processes. Additionally, it might also be required in some strictly regulated industries to comply with regulations and meet contract requirements. So let's have a look at Jira and its time tracking features. For the purpose of this exercise, I will use a Jira Scrum project. You can pick different templates. In most of these templates, time tracking will be enabled. If not, I will show you how to do it. So let's create the project. And once my project is created, I will start creating my first tasks. So I will start with the backlog and create a task. Now when I open this task, I can click on the clickable name and I would like to open it in a new screen. You should be able to see time tracking in the More Fields section. Now depending on your project configuration, it might appear in the details section or even on the main part of the screen. However, in general, it should be hidden under the More Fields section. I will show you the configuration shortly. Let's start with the basics. So time tracking in Jira consists of three different fields. These are the original estimate or the effort required to complete a task. So let's say my first task will take approximately 2 days of work. Now you can enter hours, minutes, weeks. Instead of using the D letter standing for days, you can use W for weeks and so on and so forth. And any of these formats will work. But let's start with 2 days. Now, when I enter the original estimate, actually two things happened. The first one is that the time tracking field or the time tracking progress shown up just below it. And also that remaining estimate, which is the second time tracking field, was automatically populated. That's because Jira has this automation enabled. What does this mean? I haven't started working on my task yet, so my original estimate is equal to remaining estimate, which is also equal to 2 days, and that's the remaining effort required to complete the task. Having said that, now when I click on the time tracking, I will see a pop-up with the time remaining already populated for me, and now I can start logging work. So let's say I worked on the task for 4 hours. The progress was updated, time remaining was automatically reduced. Now I can also add what I worked on, so I will just type work log, but it is very important that you actually include the work description so it is clear to everyone what you have been working on in relation to this particular task. So let's hit save and let's see what happened. My original estimate remained the same, and that's very important because when you want to compare your actual versus planned, then you'll be comparing your initial estimation and the actual spent time. This will give you a metric informing you about how accurate your estimations were. There is a system field in Jira that can do that. However, we cannot display it on that particular screen, but we'll get to that. So see what actually happens with my logged work. If I go to the main part of the issue screen, you will see in the activity section couple of tabs and you'll see the work log. So this is where you'll find the actual work log that I've just entered. You can edit it from here, assuming you have permissions to do that, and you can also delete it. Now there's another way of logging work, so you do not necessarily need to click on the time tracking here. You can also click on the actions button and you will also see the log work button. So let's log another day of work. Now I have 2 records. I did not enter the workload, so I better fix that. Now let's try to complete this task. I will enter another 4 hours. This time, all the time was logged correctly. I might assume that my work is already completed. However, as you can see, the status is still saying to do. That implies that there is no direct relation between the amount of logged work, the original estimate, and the status. So there is an automation that can, for example, reduce the amount of remaining work to 0 whenever you resolve the issue. That's something that you can try for yourself. So far so good, but let's say that I've actually underestimated my task and my original estimate is not accurate. You might be wondering, okay, but so can I keep logging work? Yes, I can do that. So let's work another day. Let's say I really have underestimated it, and now when I log work, you'll see that this orange line appeared indicating that it is 1 day over original estimate. So the total of logged hours exceeds the initial or original estimate. And that is a very important information because that implies that there is a risk your team, for example, will not be able to complete all the scope of their sprint, or there is a risk of delay of your project. These are the things that you'll need to take into account when estimating the effort and use this historical data for your future estimations. Now let's have a look another way of working with time tracking. I actually did start with original estimate first, but what if I do it slightly differently? And let's create another task. Okay, so now I have a second task, and this time, let's say I do not have an original estimate, right? Or I forgot to enter it and I will just start working on the task. Let's say I did log 4 hours. So time remaining is not really available. When I save, it does not update the original estimate. It does not update the remaining estimate. I don't really know how much time is remaining. I do not really need to enter the original estimate. I can just update the remaining estimate. In that case, since that moment, it will be automatically reduced. So let's say I do have 1 day remaining and now it is back to normal. However, it will not look at the original estimate anymore, right? So total should amount to 1.5 days. Now what happens if I set the original estimate to, let's say, 2 days? It actually tells me that since my total is less than the original estimate, I have simply overestimated this task. And now that's one use case. However, what if I start creating subtasks for this particular task? So let's say this task consists of 2 subtasks. And now as you can see, what happens is an additional checkbox appeared that tells me to include the subtasks. So what does this mean? Now when I update the original estimate of the subtask, let's say it's gonna take me 4 hours, it is added to the total, right? So if I uncheck this, it will be not included in this time tracking report. If I enable this checkbox, it will be added. So this time tracking report can show me the overall progress of the task and its children, in that case, the subtask. Okay, now let's add a parent to my tasks. So I will create a new epic for that purpose. And right now I can start adding my task to this epic. When I do that, the parent link will appear here, but when I look at the time tracking here, even though the epic has children, it does not really work in the same way as the tasks and subtasks. So I don't see the overall progress of this epic. And that's because for now it's simply not available in Jira. There are other tools that do that. We'll get to that at the end of the video. Now let's have a look at the configuration. In case you don't really see time tracking fields here, what can you do about it? If you are the project administrator, you can go to the project settings, the field sections, and you can search for the field. So let's start with remaining estimate. I can add it. Now, remaining estimate is in the section called system fields. So while I can add it here, there are other fields like sum of progress, sum of remaining estimate, sum of original estimate. All these fields are system fields. That means that not all of them will be visible directly on the issue screen. So for example, I can try to add the sum of remaining estimates, or do the same with original estimate. And when I save the changes, when I go back to my project, you'll see that these fields simply do not appear. So there are other apps that actually make use of these fields, and you can present them and make operations on them at the project level, at the task level, at the epic, at any level within the hierarchy. However, out of the box, Jira does not do that. Also, if this list of fields is not available, you might need to ask your Jira administrator to add this field to specific issue screens. So what other options are there in relation to time tracking? As I am a Jira administrator, I can go to Jira issues, and there is a section for time tracking. Let's have a look at what can it do for us. Now, there is a time tracking provider, so you can use other time tracking provider than Jira. Now, what are the global settings? And this is actually very important because different organizations can work in different days. You might have, for example, your breaks included in the 8 hours of work. So you might not be working 5 days a week or 4 days, for example. So keep in mind that these are global settings and you will not be able to control it per user, per group of users. That's another limitation that is addressed by different tools than Jira itself. What is also important here, as I mentioned, unless of course you are logging your breaks, then you might want to reduce this number of hours per day to 7.5 as an example, taking into account you have a total of 30-minute break. Now you can also change how this data is presented. So right now I am using pretty. An example would be 4 days, 4 hours, 30 minutes. Instead of days or hours together, it amounts to 36.5 hours. So let's switch to hours. And the default unit, you can also change it to minute, hours, or days, or weeks. Alright, let's change to hours and let's go back to our project. So now if I open any of my tasks, I will see that I have 12 hours logged altogether. Now that we know how time tracking works and how to configure it, let's try to answer questions about reporting. So Jira also offers all sorts of different reports that can help you analyze where time has been spent, have a look at the user's work activity, how and when work was logged, and also track your sprints or epics. So let's have a look at the different type of reports. So when it comes to reports, there are actually two options. One would be to go to your project and you'll have the reports tab. That's the first option. The second one would be to create a reporting dashboard, which would combine all the different reports on a single page. However, as you'll see with the dashboards, not all the reports are available. As I am using the Agile or Scrum project template, there are all sorts of Agile reports, and these reports can also utilize time tracking data. So I haven't created a sprint yet. Let me fix that real quick. So the first report that we'll have a look at is the burn down chart. It allows you to track progress of your sprints. Now, in the meantime, I did create a sprint and added some items to the sprint. Now I can change the estimation method. So by default, the story points are selected, but I can also switch to issue count or original time estimate. When I do that, you will notice that the values in the table below changed, and now I can see my time tracking estimates for each of these tasks. Now the report is not showing anything interesting since I completed all the scope on the first day of my sprint, but you get the idea that you can switch to original estimate. Let's have a look at some other reports. Other reports do not really support time tracking when it comes to the Agile section here. So let's have a look at the issue analysis. The time tracking field is not really used. However, Jira does track time in status. So there are some calculations done by Jira which you can present in form of a report. For example, time since issues report or resolution time report. But when it comes to reports strictly related to time tracking, they are this right here. So starting with the time tracking report, when I open it, you'll see that I can select the fixed version. If you're working with versions, you can create a time tracking based report for a specific version. I will not be using this feature. You can change how to sort data from the least completed issues to the most completed first. Decide whether you want to show all the issues or focus only on the incompleted ones, and whether you want to include the subtasks with selected version or include without a version set. So let me include all the subtasks. Now, when I hit next, you will see two progress bars. First one indicating the progress of all the issues in your project. So it shows me that the 44 hours were completed from the current total estimate of 88 hours. So I already know that within my project, the sum of estimates or the sum of efforts is equal to 88 hours. And I'm halfway there, as I've already logged 44 hours. However, there is another bar telling me about the accuracy. And it says that issues in these versions are ahead of the original estimate of 92 hours by 4 hours. And that is calculated as accuracy of 4%. So what does it mean? In the table below, you'll see the total or the sum of estimates of all these issues, right? So I'll see also the total time remaining. So we have the time remaining and the total of time spent. However, since I did log a little bit more here, I did log 8 hours more. Now accuracy is minus 8 hours. But on the other hand, here I did spend 12 hours, although the sum of estimates is 24 hours. I can conclude that I've completed it earlier than expected, or I underestimated this particular task. Since all of the work is done, there is a difference of plus 12 hours. So in other words, in total, I'm 4 hours ahead when it comes to the overall progress of the project. That report actually tells me quite a lot about the project itself. However, from the team's perspective, I won't be able to say who worked on what each week, for example, how much time was spent on specific tasks in a given week, month, year, quarter, and so on. There is one more thing that you can do. Let me show you right now. So I can go to the search issues and I can use the work ratio. Work ratio is a very interesting field which compares the actual versus estimate. So let's select work ratio and let's say when it is greater than 100%, show me all the tasks. Now, when it is greater than 100%, it means that, let's have a look at the story, that the logged work or the spent time is greater than the original estimate. So with all these 3 examples, I've actually underestimated my task. So this is something that definitely is worth investigating as to why the estimate was inaccurate. Although, again, I don't really like how this information is presented, that I need to go to look at all these tasks one by one, but it would be nice to have this all in a single place. Alright, let's go back to the report. So let's select user workload report. When I do that, I will need to set the user, right? So let's set the user. Now I can see that within my time tracking video tutorial, I have 3 assigned issues and a combined workload of 4 hours. Now there is one more report, version workload, and it is related to the version and it looks at the total time remaining. Now the last report here is workload pie chart report. So I can look at the assignees or all sorts of other fields such as priority projects, version status, and so on and so forth. And I can use the original estimate or current or spent time field of time tracking. So it would be great if it did provide a sum of all the estimates, but this is not so. Alright, so last thing, let's have a look at the dashboards. See what are the options here. When it comes to time tracking, again, there are some charts that time information, not necessarily time tracking, but you can use the average age chart, average time in status, resolution time since chart or time to first response, but this will not really work well when it comes to tracking your project. So what can you do about it? Now, there are plenty of apps on the Atlassian's marketplace that actually address the limitations mentioned in this video. You can create insightful reports, totals for all the different levels within your project hierarchy and extract lots of more data. For example, the work ratios, the sum of estimates, total underestimation, all sorts of different metrics that are available for you out of the box. However, keep in mind that selecting the proper tool for your project and portfolio management is not an easy decision. There are plenty of things to take into account, plenty of your requirements. Not all the tools will meet all of them. That's the first challenge. Secondly, remember that your needs will also evolve over time. So again, you need to select a tool that will address your current needs, but also will work well for you in the future. This is where we can help you. Now, we also provide free training on some of these tools. We also offer paid trainings that cover these tools in details, and you will find all the information on our website. Also, if you're not sure which tool will work for you best, you can reach out to us for a free consultation or check out our YouTube channel with plenty of content addressing all the different areas. Thank you for today, and I'll see you in the next video.